I guess take me through how a game design would start. Like you're going to sit down with your because how many employees are at University Games?
Well, we have 12 in our corporate headquarters, which is very
Yeah.
small, and then we have a subsidiary in England and a subsidiary in Australia. So we have about 70 worldwide.
Okay. Well, I
Um,
guess that helps you keep a lower benchmark for what you need to be successful. If you start
yes, it
blowing up
does.
your staff, then you're going to have to do a million
It
per game.
does. Our yeah, and I like keeping it small because then everyone in our organization feels like they're really part of the success of the company and they have accountability and they have responsibility. Our process is a little bit different than other companies, but I can tell you our process, and if you want to know how other companies do it, I'm happy to share that with you too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Um, our process is we start off by saying, what kind of game do we want to invent? Um, and the way that we do that is we have categories of games. We have preschool games, family games, adult game, party games, strategy games, outdoor games. And so we kind of look and say, based on what we're seeing in the marketplace, the research that we're doing, what kind of where's the opportunity? What kind of a game do we want to do? And I'll use the example of this a preschool line that we just came up with. So we decided that based on birth rates and amount of space that stores were giving to various categories, that coming up with some preschool games would be a successful way to go. So then we said, okay, what's a preschool game and how do they work? And we just talked about it. And what we realized was that pretty much every preschool game that's out there has been around since I was a kid. There's
Hmm.
memory games where memory matching games where you have two things and you try to turn them over and match them. There's start to finish games like Candyland and Chutes and Ladders where you roll and move until you get to finish.
Hmm.
There are games where young children are doing things with plastic devices like Hungry Hippos, and they're really toys with rules. They're not really games, and those are really the main four things: memory, matching, start to finish, and then plastic. And the
Okay.
reason for that is that historically game developers and retailers and frankly mothers and fathers have believed that the only real things that young children can do are those things. Inventing a game
Huh.
for someone who can't read, who has a short attention span, who doesn't like to sit still, who always wants it to be their turn, is difficult.
Sure.
And so this is what people have done. And I said, let's approach this from a different point of view. Let's approach this from the parent's point of view. What does a millennial mom or dad want in a game for their 3 or 4 or 5 year old? And I said, well, we all talked about it and we said, well, they're going to want something that's fun for them because they're millennials, so everything needs to be about them. So they're gonna have it. They want it to be fun for them, but they also want their kids to be learning something, because one of the things that we have found parents care a lot about, a lot more than when I was 5 years old, is that when kids get to kindergarten, when they get to that first grade, um, that they're ready, that they're not already behind. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, how can we develop a game that will be fun for the parents to play with their child and will also help the kids get ready for being in kindergarten? And I went on the internet. So, this is sort of our process. So then we started coming up with ideas. And all of our ideas were either start to finish games, memory games, or matching games. So I
Okay.
said to the team, throw that out and let's now switch from the parent back to the child. What is it that kids that age can do? Well, they can talk and they can act things out and they can count and they can learn letters. And so I said, let's start thinking about games that do that. So far we've spent many days and hours and we've done nothing. We have no board, we have nothing. And I went online. Well, no, first I started talking to parents and I started saying, tell me what preschool is like. And they said, well, the first thing you do is you sit down. Um, the teacher says to the kids at the beginning of the day, Criss Cross Applesauce. And the kids sit down and cross their legs. I don't know if they do this in Canada, but in the US, apparently they do this. When I was a kid, it was called sitting Indian style.
Same.
And they don't say that anymore in America. So I said, okay, let's start with that. Kids are sitting in a circle with their legs crossed. And then I said, what if we had a game where, since you're in a circle, something was happening sequentially in the circle where each person had to pay attention to what the first person was doing and the second person. And I said, like, let's say I clap my hands. And then, Michael, if you're sitting next to me, you have to clap your hands and pull your ear. And then the next person has to clap their hands and pull their ear and shake their head. And all of a sudden, it became a game. And so we call the game Criss Cross Applesauce. It isn't a matching game, a memory game in the normal sense, or a start to finish game. It's a game where kids are doing something you do in school, which is sitting in a circle or sitting with their mom or dad. And you are developing the concept of sequencing and patterning by having a deck of cards, and you turn the card over and it gives you an action to perform. And so the kids are learning how to look at a picture and then in their mind convert that into them doing something. And it's sequential. And then we created a little chart where if the group can do 5, they get a certain grade. If they can do 8, if they can do 10, if they can do 15, so that there's a sense of accomplishment as the group works together and does more. And that became a brand new game called Criss Cross Applesauce.
Well, I really like the idea how you said that kids are always looking for it to be their turn, and so the idea that they have to look at somebody else because that's part of the game when they're doing that turn and it affects your turn. I think that's really great, even with board games. Like I played Catan 1,000 times with my friends and my cousins, and if you're getting killed in that game, you want to fall asleep. You're on
Right.
autopilot. And so to have a game in general
You,
where someone else's move is so
you froze on me.
impactful for what yours is, I think that's always
I don't know if
some
you
of the
can.
secret sauce in some of
Yeah.
these amazing board games.